You know the YouTube thumbnails where there's like a photo of a dude like holding his face like this, and it's like says I messed up and like this was a total disaster, and then there's like an arrow pointing to the part that they were working on. Well, this isn't one of those videos because everything went pretty sweet with this and didn't really have any dramas with it. So yeah, watch the video, you'll see. Hey, so in the last video I said that I was going to try and find another rear wheel because I wasn't happy with how the bearing sat in that one. So I did, found this one for $100. Like I said, they're everywhere and they're cheap. Now the good thing about this is I've also got another spare sprocket carrier now if I need to change over the one that I modified for whatever reason. And this wheel also came with a rear brake, which is handy because I needed this caliper bracket. But the caliper itself is just this shitty no-name job. Twin piston, but I think it looks pretty rubbish. So I'm going to be using the factory Honda caliper, which is only a single piston one, but it's much lighter. And if you have a look at Moto3 race bikes and motocross bikes, any competition bike, they usually just have a single piston rear caliper on them. So I've got to make that fit on this caliper bracket, but first thing I've got to do is make this caliper bracket fit in the bike. So I'm going to drill this out to 20 millimeters, the same diameter as the axle, and we'll slot it in and see what we need to do. Alright, so we drilled it out so the axle will slide through it. I've just sat it over the top of the disc, just using the Kawasaki caliper for now. First thing I've got to do is make that spacer that sits between the bearing and the bracket there. And then the caliper bracket is also too wide, so that's not going to fit between the swing arm when the wheel's in, so I need to shave some off the outside of that. So I'll make that inside spacer first, and then we'll measure how much we've got to take off the outside of the bracket. Alright, before I spend much time making a nice looking aluminium spacer, I just quickly machined out the standard steel one, just because I just want to see if I'm going to be able to make this fit before I waste any time making custom spacers. I can already see that this bracket's going to need at least 5 millimeters taken off it, maybe a bit more, but I'm going to start taking 5 off it, and then we'll see how close we are. I think I've got plenty of material there to take off, so we'll get that shaved down and then see if that's any closer. Alright, so we shaved it down. I just took about 5 millimeters off the outside and a little bit off the inside, so the width is right now, it's going to fit in, but now what I have to do is modify this caliper guide on the swing arm. Obviously the KTM caliper is way different, so this needs to be made shorter, and this round section on the top here needs to be sort of squared off so that it'll slide into the caliper bracket. So I can't get the wheel in until I've done that, so I'm going to do that now. Again, not spend much time on it, just sort of rough it in to make sure everything's going to work, and we'll come back at the end and tidy everything up. So I'll cut that off now and we'll see if it'll fit. Alright, so I've got a really rough bracket now, so I've cut a heap of stuff off that was in the way. Just roughed in this slot here for the swing arm guide. Thinned it out a bit, so the width is correct now. So I'm going to try and put it in the bike and see if it's going to work. And if it's all good, then I'll take it back out and we'll spend a bit of time tidying it up and trying to make it look like a billet piece or something you would find on a race bike rather than some hacked up factory piece. So let's see if it fits. Got it in the bike. It fits on the slider properly at the front of the swing arm there, so that's no issue. But I do have a pretty big problem here in that this disc bolt hits on the caliper bracket. So I've either got to modify this caliper bracket or maybe just machine the face off the disc bolt, because there is clearance between the disc and the bracket. So if I can machine that bolt down flush with the disc, then that should give enough clearance. But before I go too much further with this caliper, because this isn't the one I'm going to be using, I'll ditch this and see what I've got to do to make the Honda one fit, and then that'll be the bracket that we'll modify for clearance. So promising, but still a bit of work to go. This is the Kawasaki caliper bracket, which mounts onto the aluminium piece that I've just modified. And this was the Honda CBR 125 caliper bracket, which was all one piece. So this is what I'm going to need to use this Honda single piston caliper. there's the caliper sliders here. So as you can see, it's quite a bit wider on the Honda as opposed to the Kawasaki. But this backing plate is 6mm mild steel for both. So I think what I'm going to do is take this Kawasaki one. First of all, I'll remove these sliders from this bracket, then get this centered up, and then literally just going to lay it on top like that, trace around it and punch those holes, and cut it out of this bracket, and then re-drill and re-tap the holes. And hopefully that should be all I need to do to make it work. So we'll see. Good news is the CBR caliper fits. That little bracket that I just modified works, going to work no problem. But we've still got some clearance issues. So you can see there that the rotor bolt contacting on the bracket, and then up the top here we've got a little step on the bracket there, and you can see the disc is just knocking on that. So that one's not going to be too bad. I can just shave that one down. But as far as clearance from the rotor to this bracket, that's really tight. So even if I machine the face off those bolts, I'm not really happy with how close that's going to be. So there's about 8mm on this aluminium bracket here, thickness. I think I can probably take about 2 off that safely, and then combine that with machining maybe 1mm off the face of this rotor bolt, and then I think I should have enough clearance, because you can see it's not super tight. Like, it's still, it'll go past it, but it's definitely needs a lot more than it's got. But the caliper slides up and down, swing arm no problem. So as far as that guide goes, that's all good. So I'm going to see now where I can find a couple of millimeters to shave off it and still keep its strength. But so far I think it's going to be okay with the Honda caliper, so that's cool. So I've just stepped the bracket down about 3mm, which hopefully should be enough for my clearance. So to do that, I just cut it horizontally with the angle grinder with a 1mm cut off disc, and then just cleaned it up with a file. So it came out okay considering how I had to do it. So obviously when I started this channel, I decided to start doing it because I just love doing it, and I'll always make the videos anyway. But if I ever do get enough subscribers to make money, then I can guarantee you that every cent I make will be going into tools, and the first thing I'll buy will be a milling machine, so I can do this sort of shit way faster and more accurately. So if you don't mind subscribing, please, it would help me so I can buy more tools. But if not, that's cool as well, doesn't really matter. Anyway, let's go see if this now fits. That's it fits. Got the pad sitting in there, everything spins freely. I just Pump that piston out a little bit with some compressed air to get the pad to sit against the disc to make sure that it was all going to be good, and that's fine. It's just got that slight rubbing that is normal that every bike has. But we've got heaps of clearance at the front, heaps of clearance at the back. I don't know if you're going to be able to see, but the pad alignment to the top of the disc is pretty much spot on, maybe a fraction too high, but nothing that's going to matter. And then if you have a look from the other side here, the pad is pretty much centered on the portion of the disc that needs to be contacted. So that worked out really well, considering I wasn't really sure if that was going to work at all using that different caliper. So seems to be all good. So now that that's, I know it's going to work, I'm going to take this bracket back off now and spend a bit of time with the Dremel and the die grinder and see if I can make it look nicer, because it looks pretty ugly at the moment. Okay, all done. Just going to leave it at that for now. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Could be cleaned up a little bit more, but that's going to be totally fine for the stage of the build that we're at. So I get some time this week. I'll make a nicer looking wheel spacer that just matches the one on the other side here. But that's not really a priority. That's just something that can be done later to make it look nice. But as far as everything else goes, we're all good. It's all centered and brakes where it needs to be. So we're going to leave this episode here and we'll come back next time. I know I said I was going to do the Kickstarter, but I'm still haven't had a chance to work out how I'm going to do that yet. So I'll try and work on that in the next couple of weeks. And then for the cooling system, I've had to order a couple of parts from Honda. I'm missing one of the outlet pipes from the cylinder head there, and need some new hoses and stuff. So I've got to wait for those parts to get here before I can get onto that. So we'll end this video here. Come back in a few weeks, hopefully with Kickstarter on it and the cooling system sorted out. So thanks for watching.